All right, so welcome to today's lesson. Lesson two, we're going to dig into and explore your transferable value bank. But before we do that, I want to acknowledge something that I consider to be powerful. When most people think about leaving corporate, one of the biggest fears they share with me is that if they walk away, they do feel like they're going to lose everything, lose their security, their identity, and their professional momentum. But here's the truth. Your value doesn't live in your job title. It lives in you, in the decades of skills, experience, and the wisdom that you have gathered and built along the way. That is what I consider to be your transferable value bank. And once you know how to see it, connect with it, and then use it, I can guarantee you that you will never worry about starting over again. And by the end of today's session, you're going to have a system that you're going to be able to identify, name, and claim your transferable skills. And then you can begin to focus on building your next income stream with confidence. Now, look, I get it. You may be sitting there thinking, okay, look, I've done the same thing for the last 20 plus years. I don't know if I have any other skills. This is something I hear with all of my clients. Any client that is seeking to potentially leave the security of corporate and go explore something that is more centered with their passion. Why is that? Because corporate often trains us to see ourselves through a very narrow lens. But here's what most people get wrong. They forget that every role builds layers of value. Leadership, problem solving, communication, strategy, resilience. These are all currencies that many of us have been trained to not identify, see, and or know how to use. And here's the key. You've been collecting them the whole time that you've been employed. Let me share with you a couple stories. Michael was 53 when we started working together, and he had been in sales, and it was business to business sales his entire life. And when he left corporate, he feared sales is really all he knew. And he really didn't know what he wanted, but he was burnt out on sales. And so when we unpacked his skills, we found leadership, we found negotiation, we found definite coaching, both personally and professionally. And he was definitely skilled in relationship building. Later, he launched a consulting practice, and within 6 months, he replaced his old paycheck. How many of you have actually gone and had a cup of coffee at a building that has a green logo on it, known as Starbucks? Well, Howard Schultz, before Starbucks became the Starbucks that we know today, he wasn't just selling coffee. He was leveraging skills in leadership, in vision, in cultural building. His transferable value went far beyond the product that we enjoy today. It was really created through experiences. And then there's what I call the hidden skill set. I want you to think of like a teacher. On paper, they just teach. But in reality, what do they do? Teach sometimes, most of the times, but they manage conflict. They inspire motivation. They design systems, and they deliver communication every day. Every job contains hidden gold. We've just been trained not to recognize it and not to tap into it. You see, you've been building your value bank for decades, but you haven't been aligned with it. You haven't been attached to it. And now it's time for you to cash in on it. You see, your value bank shows up across every layer of your life. Emotionally, confidence grows when you start to realize you're not starting at zero. Mentally, you're going to move from thinking, I only know this, to I can carry multiple currencies. Behaviorally, you're going to begin to list and practice skills outside of your old title. Relationally, you're going to start to leverage credibility and networks well beyond the corporate walls that you have learned to live behind. Energetically, you stand tall when you actually know your worth. And environmentally, you start designing roles and businesses that are aligned and centered around your strength. Now, you may be thinking, look, who would pay for my skills outside of corporate? Look, I hear this all the time. I actually thought that when I was in corporate. But these thoughts, these pattern of thinking are only there to keep us where we have always been. You're on a journey of moving forward. And so the first step is that we have to start to get really good about noticing the pattern of thoughts that are no longer in service of the vision and the direction that we are taking our life experience. And so the first step is pat yourself on the back when you notice it. The second is we have to get really good on reframe. So if you're sitting there right now and as you're exploring the opportunity of potentially stepping away from corporate and designing a career that creates an income stream that is totally aligned with your passion and your desires, and you have that thought that comes up that wants to tell you that it's not going to happen, that it's not the right time, and it sounds again like, who's going to pay for my skills outside of corporate? Well, we reframe it. Businesses, leaders, and communities are always seeking solution, and they're willing to pay it. And you already know how to solve problems. That's your value. That's your value. And so our daily practice this week is to really begin to build your value bank. And we do that in breaking you into a 15-minute bite-size practice. And those practices are broken into 5-minute windows. And so your first window is what we call making a deposit. Now, what does that look like to you? You're going to, in your journal, write down 10 skills you've built over the years. Don't overthink them. I want you just to write down the first 10 that come to mind. If you're having a hard time coming up, ask a colleague, ask a friend for them to identify some skills that they see you have that maybe they don't. Maybe that will help. The second 5 minutes is what we call highlight. I want you to circle the 3 that energize you the most. So you're going to highlight 3 that energize you the most. And the last 5-minute window is visualization. We want to anchor what we are seeking to bring in or attract in our life through visualization. I want you to picture yourself picture yourself using those 3 in a new role, a business, or even a project, and feel how naturally it already is. So let me review the practice again. And it is in your action guide, which are the guides that are located in every one of our coachings and are downloadable and are interactive. So your daily practice is building your value bank. The first 5 minutes is make a deposit to your bank. Write down 10 skills that you have built over the years. Don't overthink it. The next 5 minutes, I want you to highlight by circling 3 of those skills that energize you the most. And for the last 5 minutes, I want you to visualize. I want you to picture yourself using those 3 in a new role, in a new business, in a new project. And I want you to feel how natural it already feels. You see, this isn't about inventing new value. It's about recognizing the wealth of value you are already carrying within you. I want you to say the following phrase out loud, but most importantly, I want you to write it down because it needs to be really kind of worked into your day-to-day habit. The phrase goes like this: my value is transferable and it grows with me. My value is transferable and it grows with me. Feel that truth really sink in as you say it. And the more you say it, and the more that you step into it and say it with conviction, you'll start to feel it more and more. In this week's journal prompt, I want you to write down the 3 skills I'm most excited to carry forward. So in your journal, whether it's your personal journal or you are using the downloadable action guide, what I want you to do is I want you to finish the statement, these 3 skills I'm most excited to carry forward are blank. And as always, if you're led, share them in our Midlife Recode community. Hashtag value bank, because you're going to be amazed how many people other than you share the hidden skills. And because of your generosity of sharing your journey, it may spark ideas in others. And as you go through this, we always want to visualize, we want to anchor what it is that we're doing. So I want you to visualize this. There's a treasure chest in front of you. The lid is open. It's filled with gold coins, stamped with all of your skills. And it filled the entire chest all the way up, and it's overflowing. These are all that you've been carrying with you. These are your treasure. This visualization, if you do it on a daily basis, really does work, because you start to collate currency, the gold coin, with all of the skills that you have. And I would invite you to have fun with this, because there are more skills than I think you realize you have within you right now. So I did have you write down 10, but I would invite you to go back and maybe list as many skills as you can. We do 10 in the beginning just so you don't get overwhelmed, but this skill can be expanded upon as you grow in your understanding. So let's recap. Your value doesn't end with your job title. Transferable skills are your hidden currency. They are your gold, and you have more than what you realize. Your value bank is the 10 skills. It's the 3 energizers, and your value bank is one new vision. Coming up in our next session, session number 3, we're going to explore income paths beyond just the general paycheck. You're going to discover the 7 proven ways to turn your skills into steady income streams without needing corporate permission. But until then, let the evidence rise to meet you. This is your midlife coach, Timothy Euler.